Married my childhood sweetheart. Years later, I found out that he had been cheating on me ever since we were married. We first crossed paths when we were 9 years old, and at 12, my husband, 23M, and I started dating. Recall that at the age of 15 or 16, he cheated on me during our middle school relationship. Up until the age of 17, we experienced periods of being on and off. I was awarded a full scholarship to a national intellectual and athletic university when I was 18. My one and only semester there was one that I hated. I hated the coaches and the team, and I had no friends. He flew to see me, and we got engaged when he was 18. Our marriage took place in a courthouse following his airline ride back a little more over a month later. I went back home at the end of the semester. I was 19 when he enlisted in a highly difficult, prestigious branch of the military. It was difficult for him to travel for 3 months for training, but we made it. He left again for several more months to attend school for his particular line of work after coming back for a few weeks. He had registered for himself on Bumble at this time, I would later find out, and updated for more than $50 to get additional swipes. He insists that all of his conversations were only introductions and that he never actually met anyone through it. A few years on, I would discover that he had additionally went to a strip club and spent more than $600. He says he was pressured by seniors to go, so he paid for a VIP suite for one of his pals. He ran out of money after getting the motel, and my husband told him that his friend would run into trouble. I've heard that that weekend he would visit a number of clubs along the coast, including another strip club. Following our state move, we jointly purchased our first home. At the age of 20, he deployed. By now, our lives would be really hard, and the harsher they got, the closer he got to home. He developed a pornography addiction when serving abroad. I remember looking through one of his social media accounts, sitting on the restroom floor at 4 in the morning. It appeared to me that his fan base was expanding almost every 5 minutes, each and every pornographic account. I would feel guilty if I didn't comply with his demands to capture pictures and videos because I assumed he would find someone else to do it for him. When he came home after 6 months at work, we got along great, but after a few weeks I noticed that he would almost immediately race to the toilet and take a long, over 45-minute shower. Sometimes I would even go into the loo afterward, and I could tell he dropped the lubricant bottle there, even though the floor was still slippery. As an alternative, the ring on the counter and the bottom of the bottle were visible to me. I did my best to ignore it, but one day I saw a $30 charge on our account to a very interesting-sounding person. I confronted him, and he turned aside and took a deep breath. Ran a hand over his hair and threw out a hurried apology, claiming that his friend's wife had bought them all lunch at work. For whatever reason, I just said okay and moved on. After a few minutes, he got up, pretended to be ill, and lay down. After an hour, I got a text from him expressing his regret and disclosing that he had become dependent on porn while serving in the military, paying a woman for her premium Snapchat account, or a similar term. He says he was so struck with guilt that he erased her without even looking at anything after transferring the money. It dawned on me that on the day of this transaction, he had bought me flowers. It's a novel endeavor on his part. Not even on significant occasions. Beyond this point, I start to get confused about the dates. I'll attempt to give as much detail as I can remember, even though I can't remember what happened first, when, or how far apart. Maybe later on. In a few weeks or months, maybe. A former colleague sent me a note on a specific social media site as soon as I awoke. We might have been 21, or even 20. His text from the previous evening, while having a drink at a friend's house across the street, was to her, though I can't exactly remember what she said. I guess it was something like, "I just wanted you to know that Forex said this to me, that he cherished and missed her. I wish I could remember more, but I can't seem to remember anything." I yelled at him to get up, but he stayed drunk. She said something like, "You can't be saying this because you're married," to which he replied, "I don't care, I told him I wanted to be apart." I yearned to experience something different from my current state of mind, so I hurt myself and shut myself in the bathroom. I'm not sure how much time has passed. When he opened the door, he denied sending the messages. He said that his friend had left his phone plugged into the speaker while he was using it to play music. He asserted that his friend must have messaged the girl about attempting to get nude after reading her account. To further demonstrate that he was telling the truth, he even pulled out his phone and showed her a text conversation in which his friend had apologized and written her a message. I didn't know why, but I instantly accepted him. I remember feeling the happiest I've ever felt. When you release a breath you've been holding and say, "Oh, thank God, I'm not sure what it is that you're feeling." I'm not sure what that is. As I write this, I'm getting frustrated at how much I'm forgetting and feeling like I'm missing something. I think it went really wrong when I was 21. At this point, I think I had gone through his phone several times, finding, through one of his social media accounts, links to hundreds of various websites and his whole internet history. NS sites. One night I went through his entire $2018 account history and saw the transaction involving Bumble and the strip club. He claimed that the incorrect charge was not made by him, but rather by a senior who used his card since it had frozen, or something ridiculous like that. I trusted him, of course. I'm not certain the reason. When I found out that he had lied to me about messaging the girl on social media, I don't know. After taking another look at his phone and seeing text messages between him and the friend who was supposedly the sender, I think that's when it happened. A while back, his friend said something like, "Bro, I can't even go to parties that your wife is at because she hates me, LOL." However, both of them confirmed what I didn't want to accept. Taking hold of my phone, my husband deleted the messages the girl had written and included his friend in this complicated story. When I found out that he had downloaded and paid for Bumble upgrades, I'm not sure. I think I just talked him out of lying at this point by interrogating him for a long time. He claims he has never met anybody. During our talk, he added, "I only paid for the upgrade because I was never swiped for I don't remember when we visited the legal department on the base to pick up the documents required to file for divorce." I had never seen him weep before, but for this one instance. After we got married at the airport, he cried so much that he wouldn't let me see it. He hugged me without looking at me, burying my face in his chest. He said he didn't want to go, but he started crying nonstop as soon as I told him this was it, that I had an appointment, and that I had the paperwork ready to file for divorce. He was unlike anything I had ever seen. He removed all of his social media accounts and constantly apologized, shedding tears without warning, making claims. Like he would never get married again, like I could have all of our money, like he would pay for college if I wanted to go. When I caved, we went to marital counseling. He did indeed take the initiative. He had stopped using his phone altogether, would place his unlocked phone face up on the table. Told me I could look it over at any time. He'd started cleaning the house and preparing dinner before I got home from work. He stopped drinking with his friends. That was a complete 180. For a while, anyway. The issue started when anything could trigger a panic attack. Every time he went out with his friends, I would always get anxious. Perhaps a couple. A few weeks later, he was back to drinking with his friends. I broke when I didn't see him after he promised to be home one night. When I ended up in the intensive care unit, this toxic cycle had just started. He would do something that would enrage me. I would see it in his watch history, whether it was going out for drinks with his friends or occasionally watching a half-naked lady twerk on YouTube. I would shout at him, scream at him, and treat him horribly because I wanted him to feel the same way I did. Ultimately, marital therapy most likely had a significant impact. After I got out of the hospital, I finally got my own therapist. She was my best buddy. I am still texting her now. I had no friends and lived alone where we lived. He went out to parties on the weekends with his friends, and they worked together every day. I had nobody and was alone myself. My friends and family were back at home. Making friends has never come easily to me because I'm shy and have extreme social anxiety. Speaking up in front of more than 3 people at once is another thing I struggle with. When he would leave to go somewhere, I would always feel very alone. Around the age of 22, our marriage started to significantly improve once more. We went on a trip together where we worked through a lot of issues and had amazing emotional communication. Despite our mutual sadness, we were able to have a respectful conversation about boundaries and sort things out peacefully. At 23, I moved in a few months before his contract ended. He moved back in with me after closing up his loose ends at the house and at work. He made an attempt to work a night shift in the blue-collar industry, where he was able to earn a respectable wage even more than he had in the military. Nevertheless, he hated it. He hated everything about it. He missed his friends and his job. His friends were his family. Until today, I have never witnessed him appear truly depressed. 5 years ago, he joined a new military branch. Months subsequently. I hoped he wouldn't. I wanted him to live a normal life and remain with me. I wanted a family and a regular work schedule. He doesn't. He declared that he has no desire to have children. Meanwhile, I had started nursing school and my best buddy, with whom I rarely got to hang out, had a child. I could now finally spend every weekday evening with a large group of friends and family. After that, he was stationed in a different state, but it was only around 600 miles away. It's far, but accessible by car. He came home for a visit in less than a week. We were getting along great by this point, making numerous phone calls and texts. He left a little over a month ago to embark on a 6-week desert exercise that would take him across the country. He didn't have his phone with him most of the time, but he did text me once, almost a week ago. He didn't text me again after that, until I messaged him to let him know about one of my pets passing away. He responded immediately. He's had his phone with him, but I've noticed that he hasn't been talking to me. He texted me early this morning to tell me that he would be spending the next holiday with an old military comrade from his previous branch, and that he intended to spend the next one seeing his extended family in a different state. We've had numerous chats since then, but none of them have them favorably. When I asked him why he was pushing me away, he said that he was focused on his goals. I felt like I was being put on the back burner until he was ready to accept me and our marriage, despite my best efforts to reassure him that he didn't have to be alone, and that I would support him. But you can't, he said. You claim you can. But you didn't support the college or the CIA, so I figured I should take care of this on my own to allay some of the fears. And I realized he was right. We were probably around 21 or 22 when he brought up college, and I laughed at him because I didn't think he was serious. I didn't believe he could pull it off. He barely graduated from high school. He went to 4 different high schools in all, never going above a 1.5 GPA. I tried to be helpful to him by doing his homework, but he showed no interest in it. I even enrolled him at the online academy I attended since public school would not work with my athletic schedule. He would never finish his lessons or tasks, so I had to take care of everything. Ultimately, he graduated from an alternative high school with a diploma. He first told me he wanted to go to college, then he said he was going to join the CIA. I simply couldn't comprehend this. I wasn't sure what to do because he wanted my support, but I also didn't want to tell him I didn't think he could succeed. I guess I don't right now, and it gives me a horrible feeling, and I can't even begin to imagine what it's like to have your significant other abandon you. I don't know how to motivate him to perform something that, in my opinion, is above his capabilities. And so here we are, right now. Neither one of us wants to get divorced. We both understand that things haven't always been perfect in our relationship. We are both at a loss on what to do. I would feel absolutely lost and alone without him. I have known him for more than 50 years. Our relationships with one another shape our characters. We share similar speech patterns and ways of acting. We experienced infancy and adulthood together, collectively. All I want to say is that these were the worst of the occasions I have mentioned. We've had some amazing experiences together. We have a great deal of fun together. He makes me laugh more than anyone else does. He knows everything there is to know about me and has been there for all the important moments in my life. I'm genuinely terrified of what lies ahead. I am terrified to tell my family if my spouse and I decide to get a divorce. I want to be more than a name on a page. I know we were married young and come from a military background. While I am aware that I sincerely thought that we were different from the many couples that end in divorce. Prefer not to start afresh. Though I am aware that he is nearly 24 years old, I have known him for 14 years. I thought we would have talked about getting married by now. He says that all he wants to do is focus on his work, and that he doesn't even think he wants a family. Right now, I don't know what to do. I sincerely hope you are still here perusing this. If I seem disorganized, I apologize. I have never discussed any of this with anyone. I'm ashamed of my situation and feel helpless. I'm at a loss on what to do. I'm excited to see what comments others have, because I know what they will all say. After getting criticism from more than 1,000 people in the comment section, I felt compelled to sort of give an update and answer some queries. I can type like a mother effer, to start. When I wrote this message, my main intention was to be anonymous, but as soon as I pressed the keys, that became clear. I never imagined this would get more attention than a few thousand views and a couple of comments. I had to type up every embarrassing detail so I could see it all for myself in one location. Someone once said, "I must be a very tiring person to be around. If I tell my friends and family all of this, you will be delighted that no one knows." I have never told any of my friends or relatives, not even a tiny fraction of what has happened. This led me to write an epic as a result. My head has turned into a disorganized, rose-colored mess, and I wanted someone to know everything and give me advice. I'm not even positive. I see why I have portrayed my husband as this endearing, devoted, powerful, and charismatic provider. I've always aspired to be the very best, all of my life. I clung desperately to my dad's favorite quote, which he used to repeat to me every day after practice: "Second place is just the first, loser. I was the best." I was the top student in my high school class, which consisted of around 700 students. I have a ton of medals and awards. I did place second at nationals one year, which I realize is an accomplishment even though I don't consider it to be one. But since I dropped out of college, I left behind a full-ride sports and academic scholarship, so I wanted it to mean something. I hated it and could not bear it, so I kept my departure from everyone a secret. In an effort to encourage my husband, I informed everyone I got hitched and enlisted in the Marines. I didn't want anyone to be aware that I wasn't a hacker. For me, it had to be worthy. If I had gone through marital problems or ended up divorcing, it would have been for nothing. It would have meant another loss for me. I am also unable to fail. I grew up hiding in my closet and listening to my dad yell at the top of his lungs at my elder siblings who got CS and DS in school. I knew how much losing would cost. Neither would I lose. My mom cheated on my dad when I was a kid. I heard their screaming on the front lawn one morning. As my mom attempted to get into her own automobile to go to work, my dad grabbed her arm and tore her out of the car. They don't know that I saw that. They resolved it, if that's the right word for it. That seemed like the right thing to do, in my opinion. I used to think that marriage was supposed to be hard, and that you should put all of your effort into overcoming the highs and lows. A lot of people have asked me whether this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Of course I don't. Who would want such kind of thing? Why did I keep going after that first meeting? But folks who are starving will eat anything. I have read all of the comments, including the hurtful ones. God damn it, you guys are such arseholes, and I needed it. I didn't know that this wasn't how marriage was supposed to operate until over 1,000 people told me I was a blind idiot. Given that I am deserving of better, because I genuinely do. I genuinely do deserve better. For those who have said, I'm not leaving, please be aware that I haven't done so yet. I will fucking prove you incorrect. I will not be coming back. I'm not going to give up easily. I did not know the definition of the term sunk cost fallacy even though I had seen it used. Right now I do. I want to express my gratitude to all of you. Even those who believe this to be a school assignment on creative writing. When I discovered how awful my marriage and life had been, I chuckled to myself. August 2nd, 2024 second update. Hi everyone, it's been over a year. The fact that almost a whole year has gone by feels unreal. Since I don't think I've ever done an update like this before, I hope I performed it correctly and it wasn't removed. I really meant to provide an update sooner. But I've been focused on living life to the fullest. To tell the truth, I never really thought life could be this much fun. Never in my life have I been so content. I have to admit that it's hard for me to put into words how amazing my life has become. Probably 48 hours after writing the piece, I filed for divorce. The divorce was finally 2 months after the divorce papers were signed, 1 month later. Thank God. There was no argument at all, neither possessions nor children were divided. It was actually much easier than I had thought. The hardest aspect, to be honest, was telling my family, especially my mother. Regretfully, I presented him in such a beautiful way that he won everyone around. It was almost like a slap in the face. And I felt awful because, for her to ascertain. She cried for a few days. She did, however, offer me a lot of assistance. Everyone's support was incredible. It was my 25th birthday recently. I choose to pursue licensure as a nurse practitioner. That's what I'm currently enrolled in. I've made an absurd amount of new friends this year. In my free time, I enjoy going out and having fun. I do something fun every day. As you can see, I'm really starting to figure out who I am these days, but I'll try my best to answer to any comments. I'm also incredibly, really fantastic. I have a great deal of promise. I have bravery as well. I'm so courageous. I did make a fantastic friend from my first post, Bethany 2300. Thank you, if you and my best friend Katie are reading this. I am grateful for your steadfast affection and the capacity to hold me responsible. I really had no idea what a horrible situation I was in, at least not until I submitted that initial post and had so many thoughtful answers. But many of them were right. I already knew the answer to my question. To be honest, it seems a little weird to think about. It isn't even material. When I try to think back on the last few years of my life, I hardly remember anything. It's almost as though I'm trying to recall a story that I was told by someone else. Regarding the memories I do have, they are essentially memories of being a bystander or an invisible outsider in the scene. The horrific things this poor girl must be going through are beyond my comprehension. It's not even close to feeling like me. My real life started the moment he departed. We don't talk to each other anymore. In fact, since December we haven't. Spoke a lot. One of our last discussions. He threatened to ruin any future dates we could have because of his remorse and fury about the divorce. I doubt that he would ever act in that way, but to the best of my knowledge, it is documented. He hasn't even come back to the state this year. Most likely he's too busy. He got inebriated, went out for a one-night fling, and ended up getting a female pregnant, according to what I've heard on the grapevine. She wants to keep the kid. He doesn't. She might have even used a brick to smash the crap out of his automobile. If I could give him one last piece of advice, it would be to start accumulating money for the potential expenses of therapy for this poor child, and to ask if he has ever realized that almost all of his major mistakes in life have been committed when under the influence of alcohol. But it's not a problem I'm having. I will never speak with him again. And I feel secure and content enough to say so. To all those who said I wouldn't be able to leave, that I couldn't manage it, I'm grateful and fuck you. Indeed I did. Yes, I did leave. Rather than strolling, I ran. I took off running. I also didn't look back. Thank you for saving my life.